Hey guys, it's Tom Box here. Welcome to MST.TV, and I've got a deck profile for you guys today. It is going to be Altergeist. This is one of those sleeper decks from Coda the Duelist. Why was it a sleeper deck? Well, it wasn't exactly a high tier deck previously, mainly because the deck was too slow. It lacked the ability to summon out monsters quickly, and the whole deck was basically just a bunch of normal summons that you hope to keep stuff on board, and maybe you'll revive some stuff. However, now with Multi-Faker, it answers the problem of being too slow. It now has a special summon access thanks to Multi-Faker being able to summon herself out, and on top of that, summon out another Altergeist monster out of the deck, which lets you set up your monsters very nicely and give you access to your traps, so that's a little bit more effective against your opponent. And due to the fact that protocol doesn't let your stuff be negated, it becomes very one-sided once you have established control. Now, before I get started, if you guys like what you're seeing on this channel, you want to help support the channel grow, you guys can definitely help out by supporting me on Patreon. Anything helps really, and I appreciate all of you. And for my latest Patreon, my latest Patreon, we have Perez. A new enemy will rise. This is the movie. This is Perez. Anyways, that's just my little movie shout out, and we'll get into this deck profile. Okay, so as we go into this deck profile, I'll explain my choices, and think of this as a framework for me to teach you guys what you do with the Altergeist. If you guys don't like what I'm saying, then of course you guys can make your alternative choices, switch out certain cards. I'm not the boss of you. You guys know what you're doing. So you know what? Let's go into this profile, and if there's budget options, I'll talk about budget options because some of these cards are very expensive. Starting off with Multi-Faker. There is no excuse for Multi-Faker. You have to play 3 copies of this, mainly because it is your combo starter and it is your special summon access to your entire deck. This is the ice spell, this is the tour guide, it brings out monster, and she has a very easy special summon effect herself, which is if you activated a trap card, then you can special summon her out from your hand, and that would trigger the other effect is that if she is special summoned, you get to bring out another monster. And due to the flexibility of that, you can bring out Silky Disc during your opponent's turn so that you can actually bounce any of your opponent's problem cards, which is very useful, especially if it's during your opponent's end phase and you don't want to deal with their back row or their monster. Just use this, bounce it back. But on your own turn, you might go for another choice of Meluseek, because Meluseek can help you go into the link plays, and if you go into the link place, since these were both special summoned out and the link monster was special summoned out, when Meluseek is sent to the graveyard, you get to add yourself another Altergeist monster, and when you get to add the Altergeist monster, you can normal summon out right away, immediately making the Hexia able to negate your opponent's spells and traps, which is awesome. So that's the first part here. Have to run 3, there is no excuse. You want to maximize it, you want to see it as soon as possible. Next up we have Silky Disc. Run 2, I tried 1. Like, it's a bit of an awkward draw. Some people run 3 because they run Desires. I'm running 2 because I'm not running Desires. And you don't want to see both of these in your hand. If you open with both of these in your hand, it's basically the same as opening a Garnet when you're playing Brilliant Fusion and you only run 1 Garnet. Very similar feeling. Mainly because she's very weak, and she's only good when there's other Altergeist monsters on board, and there's no real way for the Altergeist deck to special summon out from hand except from Multi-Faker. Having her in the grave is okay because she's actually revivable. There's actually multiple revive cards anyway. Now we have Meluseek. Meluseek, very versatile card, triple of for, I guess, NA. I'm not sure if EU would play 3 copies of this, mainly because we have Link Karibo. We can get rid of her and get ourselves a search of Multi-Faker if we already have a trap in the opening turn, and you can protect your life points. But in other words, she's a bit better in NA. She also carries other effects such as attacking directly, and when she successfully does battle damage, send a card that your opponent controls to the graveyard. You have to target it, of course, but it is damage stuff, so it's harder to negate. But that's why she's awesome. She gets to search cards when she's sent to the graveyard. Now we have Marionetter. This is another 3 of. She acts as a revival card, but upon summoning, she gets to add a trap and set it directly onto the board. It has to be an Altergeist trap, so that's already very useful. And you can send other face-up Altergeist cards and target Altergeist monsters in your graveyard and special summon that. If you special summon out the Multi-Faker, that gives you access to another monster. So basically, you can actually summon out 2 monsters with her effect, and that's why you actually run multiple copies of her. She's very useful if you send a Meluseek into the graveyard. You can add her. If you haven't already special summoned, then you normal her and just keep going. So it's very useful. And this is a kind of more controversial monster. It is going to be Conquiri. I don't know how I feel about this monster. It is a hand trap. She can block attacks. She's very good, especially when you have Protocol on the field, where I guess she's a bit better. But as a hand trap, she is a bit conditional. You have to have a Altergeist card on the field to begin with. So in other words, going first, she's kind of meh. And even if you're going on your first turn going second, she can't do anything either unless you already had a multi-faker to get things started. So yeah, it's very limiting. But when she negates the attack, she also gets to target a card on the field and negate that while she's face up. So that sums it up for the Altergeist monsters. Let's go into the utility. We have a pair of Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre is Ghost Ogre. One of the hardest matchup right now is True Draco. If they get that Trap Monster Immune Masterpiece, it is a grindy ass battle because you just need to prevent them from getting there. Because if they get there, you have to make sure that they commit most of the resources so you can try your best to actually break that Masterpiece, because it is very difficult. Your monsters aren't very strong. Normally Masterpiece gets crashed and it dies. You don't run a lot of spells in this deck, so I might consider even running Raigeki. And to continue on with just a generically really good card, Ash Blossom Joy Spring. Here's my real copies if you're wondering why am I using proxies. Because they get damage if you keep on unsleeving them. If you have about 6 decks, I don't have enough hand traps to go around. So for practice wise, I use these. Tournament, switch them out for the real ones. And my last 2 monsters, I run a pair of Kaijus of Gameciel. This will help me answer that Masterpiece that I'm having troubles with, so at least I have a built-in out. And also, Silky Disc can actually bounce this card back to your hand, so you can actually kill off multiple monsters, which is ideal. It's kind of like you put a Grinder Golem on your opponent's side of the field, and then you bounce it back, which is freaking awesome. Now for my spell lineup, I run triple Duality. The question is, why am I not running Spellbook of Knowledge? And the thing is, you can choose to run Spellbook of Knowledge, Pot of Desires, but I'm choosing to run Duality because I want to fetch traps. There's mainly 2 targets I'm looking for. The first target I'm looking for is personal spoofing, and the second target I'm looking for is multi-faker. I want to get to the multi-faker as soon as possible and just basically unbrick my hand. I don't need to special summon very much anyways, because the deck doesn't have a lot of special summoning capabilities until you're later on in the late game. So why bother with the special summons? Just use dualities to dig out stuff. That's my reasoning. And why am I not running Spellbook of Knowledge is because I need the monsters on the field, preferably. If you do want to throw stuff into the graveyard, you should consider running a lineup that does special summon out of the graveyard a bit more often, so that even if your multi-faker gets tossed into the graveyard, you can revive it using the trap card. I believe the trap card is called Manifestation. You can summon it with Manifestation, you can summon it with Call of the Haunted, you name it. And I'm running 1 copy of Monster Reborn, which I am debating whether or not I want to switch it to a Raigeki or something else. It's just a tech card. You can choose it to be whatever you want. I just want an additional summon ability. And I like making my opponents salty. I just love reviving a BLS out of my opponent's graveyard and swing at them with it, or take their Borrow Load and then swing with it. That's also very nice because, just like taking my opponent's expensive cards and using it against them. Now, trap cards. The main trap card we have to play, Personal Spoofing. Remember, if you do use this card, you get to shuffle back another Altergeist card you control, or face up on the field, or in your hand back into the deck, and you search a new Altergeist monster. If you add the multi-faker, you immediately get to activate it because a trap was activated in the previous chain. Now, it has to be a trap card, so if this was face down and you activate it and use the effect, then you get to summon it. However, this was already face up and you activate it, not so much. You don't get to do that anymore. So remember, the multi-faker does specifically state if you activated a trap card. So yeah, differences. Next, we have protocols. I'm running 3 of. You can cut this down to 1, you can cut this down to 2 if you want to. But protocol gives you the immunity for all your effects. So activations and effects of Altergeist cards on your side of the field cannot be negated. So that's like the big thing of protection, why your stuff is not negatable. And the second thing is this acts as a Divine Wrath. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can send one other face-up Altergeist card you control to the graveyard, negate the activation, and will destroy it. And you can only activate this card once per turn. So this is your protection. You can search this card out with Marionetter. Now this is your Call the Haunted now, Altergeist Manifestation. Basically just revive one out of the graveyard. yeah, I think that's it. But also, if this card's in the graveyard, you can banish it, and you can add another trap that's in the grave back to your hand. So it's very flexible, very useful. And the card that I can't afford yet, Infinite Impermanence. These are my proxies, transients. Why do you want to run 3 of this card? Because it's a trap that you can actually activate going first. And if you have Multi-Faker in your hand, since you activated a trap card, you get to summon out Multi-Faker, and then you get a Compulse. So think about the amount of control you get on your opponent's turn. They open with a 5-card hand. You negate their monster, so that's 1 negation, so they're already kind of awkward. Then you summon out Multi-Faker, and you summon out your other dude. Remember, it is turn 1. They can't attack you, so these cards are all safe. And you get to bounce back one of your opponent's cards, so you got a free summon on your opponent's turn, and you got to control the board on the very first turn, which is amazing. I think that's actually pretty awesome. So I would recommend running 3 of this. Unfortunately, I don't think there's another option, but if you do have to run other options, you won't have them as fast. You can run Typhoons because they're actual hand traps. They're hand trap traps. You can also run Red Reboot, but then Red Reboot won't really work for you right now. You should side Red Reboot anyway. And I think that's basically it. You can put in 3 Mirror Forces for all I care. Use Torrential Tribute, things that will give you the mass board clear that you can use to trigger out Multi-Faker. Yeah, just stuttering right now. In terms of other cards, I'm running a pair of Anti-Spell Fragrance. You don't run a lot of spells. And on top of that, you can also run this card, Imperial Order. You just don't want your opponent to have spells to play. I think this is kind of an OCG-ish thing to do. But if you do this to a Pendulum player, that's very good. Do this to a 60-card deck, it might work, but it's pretty good too. There's just lots of options. You just want to shut down spells. You don't want them to be able to play their spells since you don't have spells anyway, because we're pretty selfish. And this is the mini Solemn Brigade I am currently running, which is made up of 2 strikes and a judgment. Fairly simple. More traps, more proccing. Right now I'm going to go to the extra deck. I'll also demo some basic plays that you should be aware of so you don't lose to basic plays. Now, starting off with Linkuriboh. Sorry, you guys, this is a mandatory card for us because it helps you get rid of the Meluseek if you summon it. And if this is in the graveyard, you can tribute it and put it back onto the field, which is awesome. And then Meluseek gets to search again. So yeah. But the budget version would be this, which is Clara and Rashka. If you do get a chance to go into her, it's mainly because you went to a Meluseek, you swung, you got rid of a card, and then you can main phase 2 go into this card to get yourself a search. At this point, is it really worth it? I don't know. You guys tell me. If you could play 2 Linkuriboh, well, you don't really need one, but you could play a second Linkuriboh. Next, we have Underclock Taker, just utility for extra damage and getting rid of extra monsters. Akashic Magician, very useful for bouncing back the Kaijus if you put them right there. And everything's spellcaster anyway, so very useful. The main monster I really want to talk about is Hexia. Hexia has multiple effects, starting with attack gaining from where it points to. That's also a very good effect. Second thing is you can actually negate spells and traps by tributing off an Altergeist monster that this card points to. Now remember, if you have Protocol with it, she can't be negated, so she has the all-round negation right there. You don't even have to worry about her getting striked off. So yeah, that's the benefit of all playing her, and that's why you run multiple copies of her too, so it's really awesome. And her effect to actually negate stuff is actually not once per turn. After reading the card text, the last line says you can only use this effect of Hexia once per turn. That is actually referring to the search effect. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Altergeist card from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Altergeist Hexia once per turn. So as long as I have cards pointing, this card's pointing to, that's an Altergeist card, you get to continuously negate stuff, which makes all your revival cards' ability to refuel her very, very useful. Multiple spell negations over a turn is basically like putting your opponent through a Naturia beast. And this card is a beast. And then there's also Prime Banshee. Prime Banshee is kind of like the original special summon condition. It requires 2+ Altergeist monster, but by herself she is a Link 3, so you would require Hexia to go into her if you want to use the least amount of material. Now her effect is you contribute another Altergeist monster, basically you control, and then you can special summon out an Altergeist monster from the deck to one of her arrows. So she can summon out to well, wherever she wants, really. And then if she's entered the graveyard, you can target one Altergeist card in the graveyard and add it back to your hand. So she has also a recovery effect, but not as good as Hexia. Hexia digs her out from the deck. And as for the rest of the lineup, it actually doesn't really matter. I have like my Cerberus, my Phoenix, Unicorn. Everything here can be replaced with, I guess, Reaper targets. You can take out Electromite. You can switch it out for anything because you really don't need to go into the extra deck. If you actually need to go into the extra deck that much, you're probably playing a different variant. That's what I'm just saying. And yeah, that's basically it. The rest of it is just Griffin, Barrel Load, Tri-Gate Wizard. If you can actually play Soul Charge, you can pretty easily set up the Tri-Gate Wizard, mainly because you can just go into a linker. You go like that up here, and it's an easy setup when that happens. But the rest of it is just a bunch of boss monster, Griffin, so you can lock your opponent out, Borload because Borload's a badass, Tri-Gate, and then Decode. But switch them out for maybe ABC is a problem, maybe Electromite's a problem, maybe, I don't know. There's just so many cards you can just knock out with the Reaper if you want to side Reaper. So this deck is one of those decks that can side a Reaper. In this play, I'm going to demonstrate a basic recovery play. Say you are down to one card, you have a Multi-Faker in hand, and you have one trap that you have not yet used. In this case, it's Protocol. And say your opponent has kind of gone all in to kind of break your board. What you do here is you can actually recover a lot of cards with just 2 cards, mainly because Multi-Faker is right here. So on your own turn, you would activate the Protocol. You don't need to use the effect or anything, you're just keeping it face up. And then you can special summon out the Multi-Faker. Multi-Faker's effect will activate. Remember, with Protocol, nothing can really be negated at this point. But if this is not Protocol, just be aware that you can still get negated. And the card that you're going to get out is Meluseek. Meluseek is going to be linked off with the Multi-Faker to go into the Hexia. Meluseek's effect will activate because it was sent from the field to the graveyard, which gives you access to the Marionetter. You have not normal summon yet, so you're going to normal summon this right here. Remember, your opponent can't negate your stuff if you have Protocol, and when you activate this, you can set another card. Here's the advantage right now that you can establish, is that you have Protocol, you can get the Manifestation, which is also very useful. And with the Manifestation, you can set this. You don't really have to activate this right away, but if your opponent puts up a threat that you think you should deal with, then you can definitely just go ahead and activate the Manifestation. Summon out the Multi-Faker, and then from the Multi-Faker, you can get yourself the Silkitus, which gives you the bounce. But if you were forced to negate something ahead of time, and then you actually got rid of the Marionetter, then you can summon out over here instead. So then you get yourself another Spell Trap negation. And you still have a lot of monster negation all over the place. So yeah, this is just one way to kind of recover out of like a losing situation. So say you open a handful of traps like this. You have a personal spoofing though, and you have an Altergeist Protocol, but you have no single monster. But this is actually a really good hand if you know how to play it out. So if you actually just set everything during your turn, and during your opponent's turn, you activate personal spoofing, and then you activate Altergeist Protocol. You can use spoofing to send the Protocol back into the deck, and then now you can search out the Multi-Faker. Now that you have Multi-Faker, Multi-Faker can activate and you special summon itself out, and then you can have yourself the cake and eat it too. You have Silkitus, which gives you a bit more control. During your own turn, you can spoof back one of your other cards so that you can actually get a better combo going. And as for everything else, now they're actually quite good, aren't they? Because now your opponent's basically locked out of spells and you have a Solemn Judgment. So in other words, you can definitely work with just a handful of traps because spoofing is just a busted card, and Multi-Faker paired with spoofing gives you a very formidable engine. Well, that is all I got for this video, guys. If you guys got any tips you guys can offer to me, leave it down in the comments section below. This is basically what I have so far. And if you guys enjoyed this video, hit me up with a thumbs up. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, I am super tired right now, mainly because I've been eating the last dab hot sauce and I've been burning myself like crazy. It took me forever to actually get this thing filmed. If you want to see more stuff from MST.TV, hit that subscribe button. And as always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please drop us a like so we know we are doing a good job, and you can also subscribe to MST.TV for more fantastic videos by clicking on the button on the left. Don't forget to check out our partners at Imperium Duelist. They make really high quality mats, including some of my own limited edition release stuff. And if you want to check out one of our past videos, click here on the right. As always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV, and I'll see you next time.